Hello gamers, you're watching Zoned.Live. We were tuned in to Sony's PlayStation 5 announcement yesterday, and we discussed what interested or disappointed us about what was shown. I am Megabyte, I'm joined by Nai.
Hey guys. We saw a number of good titles, some new IP, some sequels, and the price and the release date. So let's jump straight in. Final Fantasy 16. As similar as it looks, it also looks quite new, quite fresh. It looks quite gritty, which is a kind of a first for Final Fantasy, or at least the modern Final Fantasies anyway. Yeah, I'm all for it. I initially didn't think the graphics were brilliant, but it is relatively pretty actually. But yeah, the gameplay looks solid. The story looked like it was going to be grand, but a bit more grounded than the previous ones. I like the way that you seem to start off quite young and then you get older and grizzled. I hope that it offers slightly different gameplay mechanics maybe. You know, the tried and true formula is all well and good, but I just think like the series could definitely take some expanding upon. But yeah man, I'm all for it, I'm all for it. It was a surprise. I knew it was a Final Fantasy game because obviously the Chocobo, but I just didn't think it was going to be the next numbered installment, so that took me for a loop, to be honest with you.
I'll admit my first impression here was that this was like an update or something to Final Fantasy 14, the MMO one. Graphically, it seemed to lack something the recent titles like. However, it did like still have that very Final Fantasy feel. Also, considering it's Square and you know they love their graphics, I think it's a good assumption to assume that the graphical sacrifices were in order to push something else. After rewatching the trailer, was that the graphics actually weren't as bad as I initially thought. It looks like they're maturing the story a tiny bit as well. I mean, we did get that kind of scene that looked a bit gory for a Final Fantasy scene. The little girl or little boy covered in blood. Also, I don't know if it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I haven't played enough Final Fantasy games, but it looks like there was only one playable character. An interesting change for the series, kind of stepping on Capcom's toes, perhaps, with the action in this action RPG. They also kind of somewhat indicated character growth at the end with the older face for the dude. I think it was the same dude. You saw like a younger face and then him older. So I'm wondering if hopefully that's not a segmented and just time skip. Hopefully there's actually growth between the 2 points. But yeah, well, I enjoyed 15 and it looks like they've refined the battle system for that at the very least. I wasn't gripped by the story or anything, but it was still fun. I feel like they were hinting at a lot in the trailer as well. Like I felt like they were trying to hint at like we're going to try and change up some things. I don't know, again, maybe just me being hopeful. But I do think that this is a very strong exclusive for Sony to have. Because even if it isn't like amazing, Final Fantasy has quite a fan base.
So next up was Spider-Man Miles Morales. What did you think?
So looking back, I kind of see Insomniac Games' first entry, the PS4 Spider-Man. Yeah, it was kind of the developers playing it safe. I personally have many gripes with the game and was hoping to see them overcome what I thought were shortcomings they had before. And it's hard to say for certain that they aren't offering anything groundbreakingly new, but what was shown didn't exactly seem like a groundbreaking generational leap, even though the game is on PS4 as well. However, thematically, it seems like Insomniac hit well. The game looks and most definitely sounds, the combat theme was pretty dope, like a Miles Morales, not Peter Parker Spider-Man game. It's also good to see a better use of QTEs, regardless of how scripted the event they showed was. It did have a nice smoothness in transitioning between full gameplay and QTE.
Yeah, I liked Spider-Man on PS4. This game doesn't look like a drastic departure from that, but of course it isn't the sequel, it's more on 1.5. One thing that I do hope Insomniac change is the swinging mechanics. I like them, but I just felt like they were too simplistic. When you compare it especially to Spider-Man 2 on the PS2, it's night and day. I like the pendulum swinging more. I feel like this one was dumbed down a little bit, maybe for accessibility, fair enough. But I feel like it could definitely benefit from a kind of pro mode, maybe a simple and a pro mode. But yeah, I like the fact that, you know, you've gotten Miles Morales' powers, you know, he can go invisible, he's got the electric shocks. But yeah, all in all, definitely going to buy this on day one. It's definitely a strong launch game, I'm pretty sure it is a launch title, so yeah, I'm all for it really. Nothing revolutionary, but you know, as a kind of 1.5 or kind of a segue game as opposed to a full-on sequel, I think it will be very good.
Moving on, Hogwarts Legacy by Warner Bros. And Avalanche Games. New one. I'm not much of a Harry Potter fan. I do find the Wizarding world somewhat intriguing, and I don't know, I suppose like a lot of gamers, it's one of the worlds that I thought seeing fleshed out in a game would be interesting.
So I've heard about this one for a long time. It was leaked back in 2018 or maybe 19. I don't really remember when. And apparently it's open world or open school. It was your own story, so I'm pretty sure you either choose or create your own character. It was an RPG. It's everything that you want to, experience from one of these kind of franchises that has its own world and its own lore, like the Lord of the Rings, the Star Wars, on paper. But however, I don't know much about it other than what I saw in the leak and what we've now seen in the trailer. All in all, I'm excited for this. I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan when it comes to the books and the movies themselves, but I do like the world. I would much rather them let us experience a Harry Potter game in its own timeline, away from the Dumbledores and the Harrys and the Hermiones, etc, etc, so that you can actually create your own story. And I think that is the best way to convert these massive books or movie franchises to video games. So yeah, I'm all for it. If it gets decent scores and it looks fun when we get to see the gameplay reveal, I'm definitely gonna buy this one. Next up, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Yeah, so for me, this is just another Call of Duty game. It looked very pretty. I was saying to Amegabyte yesterday when we were watching it that if what we saw wasn't scripted, if it was a case of, in the beginning when the guy shot the guy in the head, if you were a better shot and you actually managed to hit the guy, that whole scene would have played out very differently. I'm all for it, but the thing about Call of Duty games is, and I mean this is my personal preference, a lot of people love these types of games. I'm getting a bit bored of these massive set pieces that play out the same every single time you play them. I think that there's always games that do that, like Uncharted, Call of Duty be one of those, but I personally for one am getting quite bored of them. I much prefer a game to create systems or to create a kind of sandbox environment which plays out differently depending on what the player does, as opposed to it being you shoot this guy, definitely got him in his head, but every time you redo that same mission he manages to not hit the guy and then it plays out the same.
Me, to be honest, no personal interest in it. Considering how saturated the market is with competitive shooters, especially competitive first-person shooters, I'm surprised games like COD has still maintained such a fan base. I suppose it kind of shows a testament to Activision's formula for generic shooters, but at the same time, it kind of sticks out to me that whenever they showcase a new game, they showcase the single-player campaign instead of a mechanic, something for online.
Yeah, I mean it's still COD, so
moving on, Resident Evil 8 Village, or The Village, I'm unsure. So Capcom, yeah, after the recent few Resident Evil releases from Capcom, I have total faith in them with the franchise again. I enjoyed the much more local tale from 7 and even the 2 remake. You're pretty much confined to one location. This is where Resident Evil shines in building suspense. Yeah, I'm just generally really glad. All these releases kind of solidify that Resident Evil is back into its horror roots, like to stay. I do think, however, that Capcom should use the more action formula they had going in 4, 5, and 6 for maybe another franchise.
Yeah, man. I'm loving the fact that we're getting back the traditional kind of survival horror experience. We've had horrors, recently, but they've been more a case of the horrors first person. You can't defend yourself, you have to run, hide, etc, etc, which they're not bad games, they definitely did kind of evolve the formula, but there's definitely still a market for your traditional horrors where you're in one setting or maybe very few settings, very limited ammunition. It's more of a survival horror, so I'm definitely looking forward to this, definitely going to get it. Because of the success of 7 and 2, I can see them kind of moulding the 2 somehow, whether it's first person or third person, I'm not mad at it at all. I like 7, I preferred 2. But yeah, I'm definitely all for it. Definitely a day one purchase for me. Yeah, keep it coming.
Alright, the next one they showed off was Deathloop, Bethesda Softworks' latest entry.
So, we were shown this in the original PlayStation 5 game and console reveal event. And yeah, I'm feeling it. It looked like Dishonored 1 and 2. It looked like it plays quite similarly to those, and as anybody who's played those games knows, from a gameplay perspective, those games are actually really good. It looked like it had quite a good spin on things, the guy being stuck in the death loop was definitely interesting. Could definitely make for some, hilarious trial and error strategies as well. The concept of, almost like a Dark Soul invasion of another player also hunting the main player is, yeah, I think it looks like it could be a lot of fun. Definitely something different, definitely want to keep your eye on. Hopefully it spawns a franchise, something new, something fresh and innovative. So yeah, I'm all for it.
To be honest, I've been behind a rock, so to speak, when it comes to this game. I haven't really been paying attention to it. What I have seen does look relatively fun. Yeah, I suppose this will probably be an eventual purchase.
Next up, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. I'm not going to dwell on it too long because we all know what this is. Devil May Cry 5 released on PS5. Initially digital only. I'm pretty sure you get to play as Virgil for it, but for the most part it seems like it's going to be the same game with obviously a few new special features, hence the name. Yeah, what do you think,
I suppose it will be a chance for me to play Devil May Cry 5, considering I didn't. But I don't know if it'll be worth a full price brand new purchase, considering it's, you know, an existing game. Dedicated fans would enjoy this, sure, but it would have been cooler for me personally to see a new Devil May Cry.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Moving on, we had Oddworld Soulstorm, Oddworld Inhabitants, new platformer.
I'll probably get it when it's on, you know, sale later on, because once again, it's not really my cup of tea. I do quite like the lore and the kind of setting of the Oddworld games and how kind of dark and gritty they are, and quite, you know, they're quite harrowing, but at the same time, they're quite stupid too. But the gameplay's never really been something that me personally, I've been a massive fan of personally. So not really much to say on this one.
Yeah, being like, I don't know, a cross between Lemmings and one of the 2D Mario titles. One area that Sony somewhat neglects is kind of old school platforming. So filling that roster is always a good idea.
Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know what this is. It didn't look like it was going to be a traditional Five Nights at Freddy's experience, but yeah, all in all, surprising, but not. I mean, I originally thought it was Portal 3, and I was so disappointed when it wasn't. So yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't go about buying this before I bought Resident Evil.
Yeah, moving on. No, but I don't care. Demon's Souls. This was the only game that I saw and I felt like, you know what, this is next gen. This is what I'm talking about. Demon's Souls.
Demon's
Sounds
Souls.
mad weird. Because you can't say Demon's Souls because it's not Demon's Souls. It's
No.
Demon's Souls. Yep.
Yeah, but you don't have to put so much emphasis on it.
Okay,
Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls.
See? When you think
Demon's
about it, it fucks you up. So this looked so fluid. It looked very pretty. It was atmospheric. It just felt next gen. Definitely gonna buy this day one when it comes out. Hopefully it's a launch title, but I don't know if it is. And I'm assuming that the game was made to look a lot easier than it actually is for the sake of the demo. If they have made the game significantly easier or even easier in any regard, I don't know what they were thinking. You know, Bluepoint in the past have been really good at recreating the games exactly as they are. When the player touches that item on the floor in the beginning and is teleported to a completely new area, you know, if that was on the current generation of hardware, it would have been a loading screen for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then it would have loaded in the new section. The fact that that was completely seamless and almost instant, I had to remind myself that the new SSD technology allows things like that to be done. So it's going to be incredible, I think.
Bluepoint Studios are really good when it comes to, you know, refining an existing game. Like as they did with Shadow of the Colossus, their remake of that was, well, you know, they kept very true to the original game's feel and vibe. So I feel like, you know, Demon's Souls is in very good hands. And I do feel like, yeah, the enemy destruction was just for tech demo purposes. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it does look really nice. And I think the main brilliant selling point for this is the fact that it's a chance for a lot of people to actually play Demon's Souls. I haven't played it, the original one. I actually jumped on the Dark Souls or Souls-likes quite late. So yeah, having an opportunity to play this one without having to pull out an old PlayStation 3, yeah, give me this, please, thank you.
Yeah, and also it's one that I missed because by the time was it even released on the Western End? I think it was. By the time I had gotten into the Dark Souls kind of you know, games, I had a PS4, and I'm not gonna buy a PS3 for one game. Do you know what I mean? Next up, Fortnite. Yeah, don't care. Moving on, the PlayStation Plus collection. Not a game, more of a service, but I think this is actually really good value for money. So for your PS Plus membership, I'm pretty sure it's the same price. You're getting a decent library, or in fact a good library of games at launch. I think it's Sony's way to sort of bolster or to make their launch lineup for the PS5 more healthy. Yes, they are technically PS4 games, but you know, if they're going to be paying for PS Plus anyway, nothing's lost. So I think this is actually a very good move from Sony.
Yeah, no, so I think this is pretty awesome. I'm sure a lot of people like yourself were wondering whether companies were going to attempt to pull a fast one and expect double purchases for certain games on an updated console for, like, you know, better output. So it's good to see Sony at least offering, you know, this cheap alternative being the online subscription, like, you know, free to members of PlayStation Plus. That's pretty awesome. Let's just, yeah, hope that the service price remains as it is. On the topic of prices,
this surprised me. So if you told me that the PS5 discless was going to cost £10 more than what the PS4 Pro RRP's for now, I think, or maybe when it was released, I wouldn't have believed you. This is incredible, I think. Like, to get these next-gen consoles at such a low price, I think nobody kind of foresaw this.
Yeah, the price of the console seemed pretty damn good. I was wondering why exactly at first we didn't see like the expected £500 for us price tag for, you know, even the discless version. However, Sony kind of failed to mention a few things. One, I wonder if the discless version being so cheap is to kind of bottleneck us to being forced to pay for digital games, which have notoriously been known for being, you know, full price for significantly longer than their on-the-shelf counterparts. A lot of people, myself included, were wondering, is it still going to be worth me investing in a console as opposed to a PC? Now it looks like yes. It genuinely looks like yes. At this price point, 100%.
And finally, we got a God of War sequel teaser. And I am going to buy God of War. I'm very excited for the sequel. But I, for one, can't stand these kind of trailers anymore because it doesn't give you anything. We already knew it was in development, so what was the point of showing the trailer?
Also, they missed an opportunity for us to hear boy one more time.
Even just hearing boy and then seeing 2021. That would have been live. That's a better teaser for me.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Shit.
Yeah.
We know what God, we know it's coming.
So yeah, guys, that was pretty much it for Sony's showcase. Overall, it was pretty strong. If I weren't getting both, I'd definitely be leaning more on the PlayStation side of the console war. What about you guys? We're interested and would like to find out what the community has to say. Keep an eye on this space by subscribing and hitting that bell icon for notifications. Peace.